Hey folks, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Marty, and today I want to show you basically the best compressor that I've used so far. But first, because I want to take my time with this one. It's the Tegeler Manufaktur Schwerkraftmaschine, and it's basically an analog compressor, a tube compressor, but it has a little twist to it because you can also control it digitally with a plug-in. So basically you can stuff or you can place it into your rack, set and forget it, and you can just control it via the software in your DAW. Works with Pro Tools, Logic, and so forth. I would say let's have a look at the features. First of all, basically the knobs are really sturdy. Of course, because they are remotely controlled, they have little motors in there. They are not stepped, but no problem for the recoil because obviously you can do that with the plug-in. But it feels very nice. And first of all, you got the input knob, you got a threshold, release, and attack, which are the standard settings for a compressor. Then you got your bypass switch, on and off switch. Next thing here, the sidechain filter, which is basically a sidechain where you can bypass the lower frequency so the compressor doesn't react to it. There are also other curves, as you can see here. For example, in another mode like the de-esser, it acts as a frequency selector from 500 Hz to 10,000 Hz. So let's go quickly through the modes here. First of all, you got a multiband compressor, diode presser, then you got a breakthrough, stereo transformer, which might be interesting for the stereo image, vari-tube compressor, very exciting about that, vocal leveler, optical compressor, which is supposedly or obviously a kind of like a recreation of the classical optical compressors like a 2A or 3A. Very curious about that. Drum smasher might be very interesting for parallel drum compression or overheads, for example. Classical Varimu, chart analysis, and a de-esser. And the last mode, which is kind of like mode 12, is here the display. And by the way, the display is an LCD display, looks very nice, very sharp. And here are just the basic information, for example, like the IP address and the model number and so forth. You will need the IP address for connecting to the plug-in because you can connect it very simply with a Ethernet cable to your local router, and you basically don't have to do much. It actually does it all itself. Depending on your router, you might have to dial in the IP address manually, but that's basically it and you're good to go. Okay, so the first feature, the automatic recoil, I'm gonna show you right away. So let's dial in some different settings here, for example, like that. And what it basically now is doing, as I open up a session and I already have a preset or my previous settings in there on the plug-in, it should automatically remote control it and go to the settings that I have in the previous session. All right, so let's open up Logic. Here we go. And as you can see, it just turned all the different settings. We have here now the plug-in Schwerkraftmaschine, and the settings are now basically the same as on the rack unit, which is kind of awesome. And as I turn, for example, here in the plug-in, for example, the attack, it also controls it on the unit itself. For example, threshold. Let's see also here in the sidechain filter, different modes. You can also go, of course, through the different modes. All right, so that's really a very handy feature. So no more recalls. Okay, I would say let's go ahead and test out some sounds. I'm gonna play a little bit of a mix, some drums, for example, also. Of course, there is another video I have in the description below where there is no talking actually from me. And I just play the sounds through it, mixes, guitars, vocals, and also a kind of like a little bit of a beat, for example. So check that out if you're interested in the sounds. I'm gonna go here now just through some of these settings and some of the sounds because they are quite extensive in this unit. All right, so we're gonna start off with the first mode here, the multiband. Put it here, let's release fast, just reset it here, kind of like that. Mix knob is full wet. And first of all off, and let's see.
Keep it warm, keep it warm.
So we're now in pipe pass.
I will not do you harm, not this time.
Let's bring it in.
Listen, I've discovered there's a place for us to. Ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba. It's covered up with frozen hand. Would you leave with me this land? Would you leave with me this land?
So without.
Look, when we are together, the clouds are hanging there.
Let's make the release longer. So of course that would be way too much. So let's dial in some settings that I actually would use, for example, on the mix bus here with the multiband.
Bring it out, and tell me what's about to be kind. Drifting here in spaces between.
Maybe also a little bit less of the wet signal.
And she's hoping to be true. The company you keep me is the more.
It sounds really nice. It brings the mix a little bit more forward.
Not insane, oh no. I'm not
There's a little bit more punch to it.
I'm not insane. Not insane. How long will it take me to complain?
Okay, so let's go to another mode here.
Shall I tell you
Diode pressure.
story, how I finally got away?
It would be a little bit too much of compression.
Look, when we are together, the clouds are hanging there in vain.
Let's try also the sidechain filter here. So as you can see, when we're bypassing everything below 60 Hertz, the compressor doesn't react to it anymore. So just to the higher frequencies. Let's try also a little bit of a different here. Emphasis on the higher frequencies. Start it again. Maybe let's go right in the middle here.
It's covered up with frozen hand. Would you leave with me this land? Would you leave with me this land?
Let's try the last option here in the sidechain filter.
Look, when we are together, the clouds are hanging there in vain. Not insane.
So let's try and slam it. For example, with a sidechain filter 40, fast attack. Also with the threshold. And let's do a little bit of a parallel compression, for example. So let's bring the mix knob more on the dry side.
lying here in spaces between. There's a lot of things to do, and just
Of course, we gotta increase the output a little bit.
The company you keep me is more than I ever thought I'd gain.
Sounds really nice. So the diode compressor is a really good compressor here. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and check out, for example, the Varitube, which I'm pretty excited about that, and see how that works. Maybe let's try it on a different track here. So let's try it, for example, on the bass. See how that works out. So we're now in pie pass. Full wet. And let's bring it in. A little bit of a faster attack, slower attack, slower release. So it really squeezes the bass track in. It's quite dynamic. Let's try also the sidechain filter, for example, on the bass frequencies. So let's really squash it now. That's without. And with. Maybe let's bring a little bit more of a tricycle in there. Without again. Okay, so that's the bass. So let's go to another mode. Let's try the optical compressor, which I'm very curious about because optical compressors, there are two main compressors when you think of an optical compressor, which is, for example, a 2A or a 3A. So let's see how that works out with this unit. And let's try it. I really like using an optical compressor, for example, on acoustic guitars. They make it very smooth. And let's see. Maybe on this part here, what it is doing. Let's reset it again. So slow attack, fast release, and threshold, and all the way into wet. And let's see how that works out. Okay, let's bring it in. Out. Do a little bit too much. So we're getting kind of like 3 to 4 dB. I usually don't compress acoustic guitars too much. Let's try also a little bit of a sidechain filter on the bass frequency. In there. Let's squash it. Okay, now that sounds really, really nice. It really fattens up a little bit. You get kind of like the classic sound that I'm used to, for example, from a plugin like the Waves one from a 2A. So a very, very smooth compression. And basically what I read in the manual, when you set the attack and the release to 5, you basically have the same kind of like feel to the classic compressors. So let's see how that works out. And let's dial in a compression that I might use on acoustic guitars. Let's read out. A little bit too much. I like it on 40 quite a bit. Okay, so that sounds really, really close to the classical compressors. And I really like that. So this is a really, really awesome feature in there. So let's try another thing. Let's try the drum smasher. I got here a drum track from one of my mixes. So let's see. It's down here, the blue one. Let's take, for example, like that, and we should be good to go. Let's reset it again, of course. And let's see how that works out. Bring it in. There we go. Nice. Let's squash it. So we kind of make a parallel drum compression. And bring in a dry signal. So really brings the snare up front. And also hit a room a little more. Really nice sounding. Let's see a different curve here. So really emphasizes the high end. Of course here the low end. Maybe let's leave it here to 50. So without and with parallel drum compression. Awesome, sounds really, really good. So really has quite a really nice punch to it, and as I said, brings out the room and the snare a little bit more. So I really like that. Next mode, classical Varimu. So let's see how that works out. Let's try it here on this track, which is a jingle I made quite some time ago. So this is bypass. Let's bring it in. With. Let's try also, for example, your 120 to retain the full bass without compression. Let's bring the output a little bit down. Wow. That's a little bit of a faster attack. Slower release. That would obviously be quite too slow. A bit of a try signal. Without. And with. Nice. So there's the classical very mute compressor, all right? All right, so finally, let's use the de-esser also, and I got a vocal track here. Let's see what that is doing. It has quite some sharp S's in there. So let's see how that works out.
Down by the Sally Gardens, my love.
And of course, as I said in the beginning, the sidechain filter here in this mode, for example, acts as the frequency selector. So for example, you got here 500, goes up to 10,000 hertz here. So I might want to dial in a little bit, for example, around 7,000 hertz. Which are in this typical example here, the main frequencies that I want to get rid of or to lower them a little bit with the de-esser. So let's see.
Down by the
Bring it in.
Sally Gardens, my love and I.
Make it a fast attack so it reacts really fast.
She crossed the Sally
A little bit too much.
Gardens with little snow.
So as you can see, we get a compression of around
She bid
-5.
me take love easy as the leaves grow
Can of course go
on
a little bit higher,
the tree.
10,000 hertz.
But I, being young and foolish, with her I did not agree.
Let's go a little bit down.
In a field down
5,000.
by the river, my
So
love
that
and
would be quite too low because
I
it
did
reacts not also to the S's and the sh sounds, but also to the other words, the other consonants. So let's go back to 7,000 here.
Later, snow white hand. She bid me take love easy as the grass grows on the way.
Maybe let's try it on this part here, where there are quite some S's in there.
She bid me take love easy as the grass
So that's without.
grows on.
Let's try it with.
She bid me take love easy as the grass grows on the weirs.
Okay, so that's quite a bit of a smoothing there. Of course, you have to play around and really get into the detail. So that's a really nice feature in there, that you have a de-esser built into it. All right, so summing up, all I can say about this unit, first of all, it's really, really well made, very solidly built. It looks very slick. It looks really awesome, especially the main feature here with the remote control. So that they combined the analog world with the digital one, so no more recalls, no more taking photos and so forth. It's really a nice and neat feature. And sound-wise, what you get with it are basically 10 different compressors. For example, with the classical one, the optical compressors, and also the very mute compressor, for example, is really nice, really thickens up the sound. And what I can say about the Tegeler Manufaktur Schwerkraftmaschine, it gets 2 thumbs up from me. It's, all I can say, basically the best compressor that I used so far. Very versatile, and I really like it. Okay, so that's basically it. Once again, I hope that you kind of liked my review about the Tegeler Schwerkraftmaschine. Please subscribe if you haven't already and want to see more gear reviews and of course mixing and recording videos in the future. I'm Marty from Set Marty Protection, and see you in the next video.